Hello and welcome to another Pitt post-game show from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. We're your Pitt beat writers, Chris Carter and Noah Hiles, here from Peterson Events Center. The Panthers have finished out the regular season with a strong 81-73 win over the Wolfpack of NC State. It now puts the Panthers at 21-10, I think 12-9 in the ACC.
12-8.
12-8, thank you. Heading into the ACC tournament, getting their first ever double bye in the ACC tournament in program history. That's crazy to think about.
You know what's crazy is we booked the Airbnb in Washington, D.C. Right before we left for Durham. I remember calling my boss and I said, well, I think they're going to be playing on the first day, so we should probably arrive there Monday so we can be there for the game on Tuesday, and I don't think we'll need a full week. And then in the middle of this run that they've been on, I called them and I said, hey, we probably should book it for at least Friday. Because I think they're going to be playing Wednesday at the worst, and now
they might be.
We're going to have some downtime to ourselves, Chris Carter.
We certainly are.
We'll be making the most of it if our bosses are watching. We will. We will get down there. We'll be covering the other games. There will be good content to all of our listeners and viewers and readers. So it's not we're going to be slacking off. We're not going to be slacking off. But it is just I bring this up because it's crazy to think. Mm-hmm. How this team has evolved in the last couple of months.
Absolutely. It is crazy to think about that. It's also crazy that people don't go to Mike's Beer Bar enough. If you don't, you better get there now. They were 500 different available beers. 300 of those beers are local. 80 of those local beers are available on tap. Go to Mike's Beer Bar today. But let's talk about what the Panthers did well in this game. No, I'm going to start
go for it.
With the offensive efficiency. Mm-hmm. The team shot 50% from the field. It is the fourth time in the last 5 games that Pitt has shot 50% or higher in the game. And it's the 8th time that they've done it this season. And to me, looking at that, it's not just that they're making shots. It's not just that they're just heaving up threes anymore. They still do when they need to. They shot 8 of 20 from deep. But they're finding more ways to score inside. Yeah. They dominated paint points in this game. I think it was 40-28, something like that. They're able to get to the basket easier. They're using screens more efficiently to get Bub Carrington and Jalen Lowe driving lanes. Blake Hinson knows how to split double teams when they get in the right position, and they also know how to feed off of that when defenses crash on those guys. How it opens up other players. I was looking at it. The first 10 games of the season, Pitt averaged taking like 31 3-pointers a game. It was just guaranteed they were going to put them up. The last 10 games, they've averaged more like 26 3-pointers per game. It's because they know how to work their offense a little bit better. Bob Carrington talked about having energy in the ball, and that's been a big factor of it. And that's led to Pitt being a much more efficient offense, which, Noah, that is a very good sign for this team heading into the tournament.
It is. And just to build on your point, I mean, they're taking less shots, but they're clean looks, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, there were so many times earlier in the year where you're just looking, why are you shooting so early in this possession? Yeah. You know, but it is what it is. So, my good is poise. I was really impressed. I mean, this team trailed for the first 9 minutes tonight, and it was unbothered. Yeah. And then it went from a 17-point lead in the second half to a 3-point lead in the final 2 minutes without Ishmael Leggett on the floor, who had been fouled out at that point. Mm-hmm. But it never really blinked. It was confident. So I gotta make that my good. Was poise. What's your bad, Carter?
My bad is the second half perimeter defense as Noah moves around here. We're making things work here as we move along. But if you look at what NC State was able to do in the second half, they went off pretty well. They were 1 of 8 from deep in the game, and that was it from in the first half. That was the problem. They were 1 of 8 from deep, and that was like everything was looking fine. Pitt had a 10-point lead, but then in the second half, they go 8 of 15 from deep. Now, to be fair to Pitt, the guy who was making the shots, Jaden Taylor, isn't exactly a 3-point lighted up guy that your scouting report says, hey, take the perimeter away from that guy. DJ Horn, who is more of their guy that does that, was missing in the second half. And so Taylor kind of stepped up in a role that he kind of had to step up. And I think that might have been part of what, caught Pitt off guard. But that Jaden Taylor guy, he was 9 of 15 on the day, 5 of 10 for 3-pointers. He by himself put NC State back in this game. That was the one thing I saw that was bad about this game from Pitt, but it wasn't terrible. Like, again, it was a guy that you don't expect to do that. And when things got really close late, they said, okay, let's defend that. Jeff Capel even talked about Bub Carrington smartly guarding the three and not getting the foul, and contesting in the right way late in the game on Taylor on a shot that could have tied the game, I believe, actually at the time. Pitt did a lot of things right, like you said, the poise to hang in despite that hot shooting streak. NC State went on an 11-0 run late in the second half that could have made a younger team, Pitt team earlier this season, crumble. They didn't. They withstood it, and I think credit to them for doing that.
Yeah, my bad is the bubble luck today wasn't great. You look, a lot of teams around the bubble won, including Pitt. I mean, Pitt can only control what it can control, which is its own result, right? And it won, and it won by a decent margin. I don't see it taking a huge jump in net from an 8-point win in a quad 3 contest, but it improved to 21 wins. It put itself in a spot where it needs to win 2 games to get to the ACC final. So it was a win for Pitt. But, I mean, you look, St. John's grinded out a win. A&M was probably the biggest winner on the bubble today. Wake Forest, another big win on the bubble, beating Clemson. That's a quad 1 win for the Deeks. And, I mean, they're toe-and-toe with Pitt right now. I think that if they were to meet up Thursday in DC, I think the loser of that one's probably out. And Drake won as well. So a lot of these teams, there were some bubble losses. Memphis lost. I believe Providence lost. I saw there was a 40-9 run.
Insane.
And that game. UConn, let's
good.
Just give them the trophy now. I mean, my God, they are good. But yeah, those are so it's you can't just hope that, like, I believe last weekend, like, almost every team that Pitt needed to lose lost. That's not going to happen all the time. No. Some bubble teams are going to win, but you look, I mean, some of these teams who have a better net, like St. John's, they're finding a rhythm right now. They've won 5 straight. That's not helping Pitt's case at all. So, and you can debate if St. John's is a better team than Pitt. I'm sure we will plenty this upcoming week. But, there was some bad bubble luck. But then again, the main thing is the main thing, and Pitt won. So that's, I think, if that's the worst thing, then you're still in a pretty good shape. Carter, I'm going to just keep going with my ugly. There wasn't a lot of ugly in this game, honestly. I mean, you could talk about, like, letting one guy kind of carry the opposition back into the contest. I mean, they were without their top scorer for the whole second half and still shot over 50% from triple. My ugly, though, is just considering where this program was 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Jeff Capel said, after a first-round exit in the ACC tournament, he said, we need to get better players. He said that, and that's a harsh thing to say.
Yep. I was there when he said it.
But
I remember that.
He was right, and you look now, they have better players.
Yep.
There was no Bub Carrington in this program prior to this year. There was no, there were no caliber of players, I should say. I mean, there were young, promising talents here and there. But when I say there was no Bub Carrington, there was no Jalen Lowe, it's a little bit more than talent. It's mentality.
Yes.
It's work ethic. It's, just being a good teammate. They didn't have a lot of that prior to last season. And after last season's success, the big question was that a one-year wonder? Did you just get lucky with a whole bunch of older guys who bought in, and can you replicate it? Right now, Chris, it looks like they have something sustainable. I don't know if Pitt's going to be a tournament team. It's not my decision to make. You shouldn't care if I think they are or not. I see progress here, though. I think this is a better team than last year. It finished higher in the ACC standings than it did last year. It had the same exact regular season record. It's got a better net, a better KenPom, and I think it's got a far more promising future than it did at this time last year. They are really building something here, and it's quite impressive when you consider, again, what this program was not long ago.
And the not long ago for my ugly is also where it came from this season at 1-5 in the conference. And you look at how they've turned it around here. Also, I'd say about this, last year, they didn't have a win that was like at Duke. I mean, granted, they haven't won at Duke since
Northwestern was their best road win.
Right, and that's crazy. They didn't have a win like at Virginia, where you could say that Virginia was ranked at the time, and they're still going to be, they're another double-bye team as well. Those are impressive wins for Pitt that are on its resume. And when you look back at how ugly things look, and we have talked to Jeff Capel about this several times. We sit right over there and we're talking to him at post-game, and he's like, guys could have walked away. guys could have given up and said, well, this just ain't the year. I'm going to go transfer somewhere else, or I'm going to figure out. They did not. These Pitt Panthers committed. They stuck to it. They kept working. They got better. Blake Hinson kept saying, we remember after losing to Missouri, the worst loss they've had this season as far as like to a bad team. When they lost that game, there were some people saying like, man, okay, this might actually not be a good team at all. Blake Hinson was sitting there saying, nah, get these guards while you can. Get our guys while you can, because when they figure it out, they're going to be a problem. And here they are being a problem. Bub Carrington, 23 points tonight?
Yeah.
23 points for him and 6 assists. He was on fire. I think he had 5 more rebounds on top of that. He's been consistent. So is Jalen Lowe, and Ishmael Leggett is also rounded into form. Between them 3 and Blake Hinson, you got efficient guys on offense, and that makes it easier for the Fede Federicos, the Guillermo Diaz-Gramses, the Zach Austins. Heck, Will Jeffers didn't even play today on senior night, even though he's a redshirt junior. It's a long story there. But point being, those guys don't have to do as much when all 4 of those guys are being so efficient on offense, and that's a big sign of just how far this team has come, Noah. And I think a big part of also what Jeff was talking about, we asked him after the game, talking about the importance of Blake Hinson, not just on the court with obviously his ability to hit 3-pointers, to generate offense, but his leadership and the tone that he set as carrying over the leadership tones from last year with Jamarius Burton, Nelly Cummings, Greg Elliott, guys who were seniors who people could respect automatically. Now you got Blake Hinson in here. He has brought that into this year and carried it over so that after Blake Hinson, this is his last year of eligibility. Guess what? Anyone that's left over from this team for next year, they can carry that over to the next guys. And that's how programs become sustainable in being successful.
Yeah, that carryover. I'll close this out here so you could get the closeout graphic. That way we don't have another awkward reach there. But I think what you concluded with, Chris, is so important when you're looking at big picture here, because that was the question. It was they did not have a ton of returning people from last year's group. I mean, they had Blake and they had Fede, and they had the twins, and they had Will, who was injured. But, like, in reality, you had 2 starters, and one of them was kind of the low man on the totem.
A whole new backcourt.
Yes, a whole new backcourt, and guards are so important in college basketball. Now, I mean, granted, you're losing Blake, and that's a big loss. But there's a good chance you're looking at 7 returning lettermen on this team. That is unheard of in this era of college basketball. And even if, Carrington goes to the NBA and someone transfers, like, you're looking at least 5 or 6. And these guys were contributors.
Yes.
And some of these guys who will be coming back next year will have been on 2 straight teams that have won 21 games in the regular season, where this is all they know. All the Diaz-Graham twins know is success.
Yeah.
Same for Fede, and same for these freshman guards. It is that losing stink. It's not connected with really anyone here anymore. And that's kind of crazy to think about. So that's all we got for tonight. He's Chris Carter. I'm Noah Hiles. You can check out all of our work at post-gazette.com. You can check out all of our analysis, along with all the analysis. This guy talks about everything. And I talk about some stuff, too, on the Post-Gazette's YouTube channel and podcast network. Thank you for tuning in. Stop over at Mike's Beer Bar and get ready. We've got a lot of Pitt coverage coming your way this next week. Panthers win. We're heading to D.C.
Thank you for checking out this content from Post-Gazette Sports. If you watch this video on YouTube, please like the video and subscribe to our channel. For all of the sports coverage the Post-Gazette has to offer, visit post-gazette.com.